Hey, this is Chris Goff, and in this training video, I'm going to critique one of my coaching students' phone calls with a live seller so I can break down the good, the bad, and the ugly so you can improve your phone skills on your next call. All right, let's jump into it.
Yes.
Hi, is this Chris?
Who's calling, please?
This is where I was calling about your house. We talked about it a while back. The one on.
Yes.
Yeah, you got a minute to talk about it?
Yes.
Okay. So we went and looked at it on Wednesday. I think I told you we were going out there. I had a couple of questions.
Okay.
You've owned the house for quite some time, right? I think about 15 years.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Let's see. We bought it in 2005, so 14 years in September.
Okay. Have you replaced the roof since then?
Yes.
What year did you do that in? Around.
2009?
Okay. So it's about 10 years old.
Yeah.
What about the HVAC?
I think we did that the next year, so.
Okay. Gotcha. Things kind of hit you a year at a time, right? One thing will go,
Yeah, right?
One thing will go wrong, and then something else, right? So we actually met with the tenants. They were out there when we were looking at the property, and so I know you mentioned that was something that was pretty important to you to let them be able to stay in there, and it's funny.
I'd like them to be able to stay, but I mean, it's not a deal breaker.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that was one thing we were gonna, I guess, offer you, basically to do that, but we can kind of leave that.
Okay, the tenants want to stay, but you have to move on from this because the fact that they want to stay in the home, the owner could decide just to work with them and not use you in the deal. So you definitely want to move on from this.
Up in the air and let us kind of decide. But now they actually really want to buy a house from what we were talking to them about.
I know. And the next step for me, if I can't get someone to buy it at a reasonable price, is to do a land contract with them.
Yeah.
Which I wanted to wait a couple years to see how they did as tenants.
Yeah.
They've been really good tenants. They've paid on time. They've let us know when there's been maintenance issues, So
yeah,
I know that they love it.
Yeah, seem like they've done really well. And
all right, so when she brought up the land contract, I would have educated her just a little bit and not discouraged her by saying, so would you be open to a seller finance? A land contract is similar, but land contracts are not practiced much anymore because there's no protection for the buyer, and if they defaulted. So if this is something you've considered, I would be interested.
It sounds like they just had some problems jumping through the hoops from being business owners. I'm sure.
Yeah, they're small business owners, so they don't have great credit.
Right. Well, and that's really their only source of income, having
Sure.
from their business. So there's a lot of extra hoops you have to jump through to show your business is doing well and all this stuff to get a loan. It's not as simple as if you had an employer and just show them your pay stubs and all that, and just it's a lot more.
And that's why we were going to do a land contract with them, because then in a few years down the road they would show that they had a mortgage, quote unquote.
Yeah. And
be able to buy the house, hopefully.
Yeah. Right. That's and I think honestly, if you have a mortgage like that, like a seller finance mortgage, then technically when they actually go to like cash you out, because you'd have a balloon payment. Technically, when they go to cash you out, they would be refinancing. So that I think that would be even easier for them to get to get that money, as opposed to getting a conventional. But
All right, so what we needed to clarify is the difference between a land contract and a seller finance agreement. So, and when you come across, you don't think, you need to come across, okay? So in this case, they couldn't have refinanced because they wouldn't actually have the deed, because in a land contract, you don't get the deed until it's completely paid off.
that's something I'm
Yeah, I've got to talk to either a real estate attorney or someone who does that stuff
Yeah.
in Alabama. I have a friend who does real estate in Georgia, but he's not licensed in Alabama.
Okay. Okay.
But he might know something about it.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm tail end of having had the flu 2 weeks ago.
What's that now?
Oh, I was just coughing.
You said you're getting over the flu?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, the tenants actually had the flu too. That's why it took so long for us to go see it. Because we were wanting to go see it around Christmas and ended up getting pushed back a little bit. So I know you said you were wanting about 150. I think is what you originally said.
I mean, that would be ideal. I want to at least be able to pay off. We don't want to have to pay anything
Sure.
to sell the house.
Sure. Yeah. So the number I'm looking at is about 98. And I know.
Okay.
Yeah. What does that sound, or how does that sound to you?
So I like how you recapped what she was asking for the home. And when you make the offer, have confidence and reduce those moments of silence. You could say after the 98, I know that's not what you're looking for, but after calculating the cost to bring the home up to 2019 and not sure if the tenant left, what condition it would be in, but they were frustrated. Would they damage the property? And you just never know what people are going to do. So if they stayed in the property, I have to make sure that you can cash flow and calculate the future cost that I'll have when they leave. So just a note here that I wrote is the first offer, the cash offer, would already be lower than the mortgage. And knowing this, she couldn't have taken the offer to begin with. So this could discourage some sellers and even listening to anything else that you have. So instead, say it this way: the cash offer to purchase the home is going to be less than what you owe, so I'm not even going to make the offer, okay? My offer is this, okay? And of course, the seller is always going to say, well, what would you have offered? Well, it's already going to be a lot less than your mortgage, so I'm not going to make that. Well, what would it be? It's always that they're so curious, but it's always going to make you look a little bit more professional and more likely to take the other offer that we're going to present.
That won't even cover one of my mortgages. I have two.
Oh, you have two mortgages.
So I've got a primary and a secondary.
Gotcha. Okay. So what would you be looking at?
Well, probably about 135.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So now she mentioned that the offer wouldn't cover both mortgages. Okay, so good to ask the amount, what that would need to be. So now she said 135. So just something important here. Now you know a cash offer wouldn't work, right? Nor will a seller finance work, because when we ran the numbers, it's already too much on the sales price for a seller finance. The only thing in this particular case that would work would be a lease option. And this is the tricky, because we don't want her to think that she could just go out and do this with the tenant.
Okay. 135. So in order to do something like that, I would really need to seller finance it from you. Is that something you might be interested in?
Seller finance. Talk to me about that.
Just like you mentioned before with the land contract, except I would really be looking to fix it up, to do some repairs, and in order for me to put money into it, I would need the deed. But I would have a mortgage with you, just like having with a bank. So instead of the bank making interest, you would. But it's the same.
Okay.
It's the same as what you mentioned before, the land contract. The only difference is that I would receive the deed at closing.
So when you brought up a seller finance, would she be interested? She had no clue what it was because she's only heard of a land contract. So again, explain the difference, but keep in mind that educating the sellers is so important, okay? And it's also, you're gonna come across with a lot more knowledge to the seller as well when you can educate people on it. Otherwise, they just, oh, well, I'm not sure what that is. Okay, so again, I would have clarified this difference in the beginning.
Sure. Let me look into the details on that.
Mm-hmm.
And are you calling me from a cell phone?
Yes.
Will you text me your details so I have your name and everything? And like I said, I need to talk to somebody about how a land contract works and figure out if that's something I want to do.
Now, when she says, let me look into this, and is this your cell phone? I would have immediately said, okay, why don't I do this? How about I put some numbers on paper so you can at least see what they look like?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've got a lot going on right now. That's
Yeah.
house full of kids.
And I'll be honest with you. I mean, that's still really high for me.
Yeah.
But we were really looking. I mean, we met with the tenants, and I mean, they're really nice people. They just need the right person to come in and help them. And we were trying to think of ways to do that. And I mean, we try to solve people's problems. Really, I mean, sometimes we can make a little money doing it, but I mean, the best option for you might be to do what you're talking about with the tenants. I'll just be honest with you.
Whoops. The best thing she should do is to deal with the tenants? No. At least bring up the lease option strategy because this is pretty much a contract for deed.
Yeah, I'm starting to lean that way more and more. I just haven't gotten the ball rolling. I mean, the house, I've had lots of calls from people wanting to flip the house. And I'm like, first of all, what it really needs is new carpet, maybe updating the railings on the stairs in between the living room and dining room.
Yeah.
New countertops.
Yep.
The appliances are all new. And I don't know if you'd want to replace the cabinets or not. I mean, they're in good shape. They were all
the cabinets were pretty good, but yeah, the countertops definitely.
Yeah, the countertops were something I wasn't willing to invest in when I was getting ready to sell it.
Yeah.
Years ago. I mean, I put the flooring in, the laminate flooring, which I hope is still in good shape.
Well, I don't know.
4 years.
I may have to break the bad news to you. I don't know. So I think there was a dishwasher leak.
Good follow-up when you broke the bad news, right? So when you do this, always follow up with, again, this is just one of the things that I saw and is the reason why my numbers have to be where they are. So when you mention that you're sorry to tell her the bad news, don't laugh, right? So it comes across as ha 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 ha, right? So use this to your advantage when you're running the numbers, but don't laugh about it.
Oh no.
They put in a new dishwasher, and yeah, the laminate kind of it swells up and then separates basically. Yeah.
Well, that's something they needed to tell me, and if it was there, all right, I have to look into that.
Yeah, sorry.
Put in the dishwasher, and if they didn't do it correctly, then they are going to replace that floor.
Yeah, it was on installation basically, from what I understand when it happened.
Okay, well,
yeah.
I need to get with management Apex and find out about that because that was a big investment for me.
Yeah.
You know,
sorry,
putting that flooring in there.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news.
I appreciate it, actually. No, I'd rather hear about it than not.
Yeah.
Because I already had one surprise. We had a tenant in there initially who was a friend, and he trashed the place.
That's what I heard.
could send you pictures that would curl your toes.
Mm-hmm.
It was, something out of Hoarders. It was, to give you an idea, when Management Apex went to go take a look at it before I brought them on as my management company, they wouldn't even go in because they went to open the front door and a roach ran across the front door.
Oh, wow.
It was, and you expect roaches in the South. It's not unusual, but it was infested.
Those things creep me out.
Yeah.
I've heard
you
horror.
Want to hear me scream?
I've heard horror stories
That's
too.
the only thing that would make me scream. Yeah. So that cost me a couple of grand to get cleaned up and taken care of.
Then I heard they broke back in too, right?
They broke what?
I heard they said something about them like breaking back in to get their stuff or something.
I don't know. I know that they
wanted
their stuff. And
I think the tenants were telling us basically like what was it? There's like a neighborhood watch or something, and they have like a logbook, and like somebody had written down that like the previous tenant somebody caught them breaking in, or I don't know. Maybe I'm just breaking all this bad.
I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard about that. I'll have to call the guy. What is his name? Reverend John. Can't remember his last name. He lives in the corner. He's in charge of the neighborhood watch.
Yeah. Right. Pretty sure that's what they said. Because I think they do some of that sometimes. She was just looking through the logbook and saw that.
Well, I know that at one point before I got the tenant in there, someone had gone in and stole water from us.
Oh.
We got a huge water bill.
Huh.
And it wasn't from a leak or anything.
Yeah.
Someone had stolen, gone in, and we had no way to prove it.
Yeah.
So we had to eat it. That was like $700 or something.
Oh,
like
wow.
that.
That's a lot of water.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yes.
What are you doing? Are they filling up the pool or something?
I don't know.
Because the pool's right down the street, you know.
Yeah. I just know that it was in December, so I don't know.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
It was right after we moved, and I remember fighting with the water department about that because they wouldn't put the water in the new tenant's name because we had this outstanding bill, and I'm like, what outstanding bill?
Mm-hmm.
What are you talking about, right?
Yeah.
So, and then imagine my surprise when I moved out to Colorado, which is a desert, and my first water bill was $86, and it was only for like 2 weeks. And I'm like, what the hell? So we have learned to use a lot less water in our household.
I bet.
Yeah, it's expensive here because it is a desert.
Sure. Yeah.
Now, after the storytelling, here's a perfect opportunity to say something like this. So look, if we can work out the numbers, I'm going to take care of the property and you're not going to have to worry about it again. And I want you to almost repeat this. Let me send you some numbers because I think I may have a solution that will work for everyone.
Text me your information. I got to get my dinner started.
Yeah, and, I figured it may be a bad time.
I will let you know one way or the other what I decide to do.
Okay.
So I appreciate you calling. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, Chris. Have a good night.
Good night. Bye.
And so here are just some of my final thoughts that I actually sent to my student. I'm just going to go ahead and read them exactly how I sent it to him. So I can tell you've been coached because not many people would have said a lot of the technical parts, but I want you to approach the deal with confidence. Okay, not always agreeing and feel like you're wasting her time. This is your business, and sometimes people just want to be told what to do, or at least tell them what you're going to do. Don't ask. Now, you need to follow up with her about a lease option deal because at the price she's wanting, this makes sense. So go ahead and fill in the offer. Let me know. Also tell her that the land contract would not be a good idea because of what I said to you earlier. She wouldn't have to pay for a management company nor worry about tenants again, and would see if this would work on getting their credit in line. So you could also help the tenants get their credit in line so they can end up buying the property. But if the tenants don't work out, obviously then we would find somebody else. But again, the agreement between you and her is binding. So that's what she needs to buy into. And just a reminder, this is going to be a much better solution than a land contract or continually renting the property. So a lease option definitely going to work perfect in this. Now, in the next training video that's coming out very soon, we're going to move into the next part of this call where we actually do present the lease option offer, and I'm going to tell you the outcome and all that good stuff. So stay tuned.